If you feel the world on your shoulders, this video is for you. If you're new here, I'm Vanessa, welcome. And if you're returning, welcome back. This week, I felt a lot in the sessions with my clients. The themes coming up of, having previously or until now held all the weight on their shoulders. And I know this feeling as well. And, like if you grew up in a household where maybe your parents got divorced and then you felt like you needed to manage the relationship and make them happy or manage the energy in the house or with them so that there's peace and no destruction or no misunderstandings. Or maybe you felt like you needed to take care of a younger sibling because your parents were super busy, or whatever it is. There can be a million examples. Maybe you had a addictive parent and they weren't able to care for you, so you had to be an adult very early on, or whatever example comes to your mind. Share it in the comments below if you've gone through any of those feelings of I carry the weight of the world on my shoulders. Share with us below so everybody feels less alone. And I wanted to talk to you about this today because it was so evident that it's really in the collective at the moment, because it showed up in every single of my client sessions. And when we feel like we have the world on our shoulders, this is an unconscious pattern that we carry further from childhood. So now let me explain. In childhood, we do always the thing that keeps us most safe. And as you know, children have a limited capacity to observe nuance and perspectives and understand, oh, if this and this happens, it's not my fault or it's not my responsibility. Children don't see it like that. Children see the world in black and white. Either there's danger or there's no danger. Either there is love or there's no love. You get what I mean? If you have any questions along the way of the video, just share them below and I'm going to try my best to answer them in the next videos. So for example, if we learned that, when your mother or your dad or whoever was your caretaker would always be like, shh, don't be so loud. It can be those teeny tiny things, but children are very sensitive. And me saying children don't see perspectives doesn't mean children are not incredibly smart and intuitive. Children are incredibly smart and intuitive, but they just don't have the human life psychological sort of skills yet to understand, oh, this is not my fault, or this doesn't mean I shouldn't sing or I shouldn't express myself, or this doesn't mean I'm less than or I'm not loved. They just don't understand this human world yet, from like that this is misunderstandings and conditionings. So they fall into, from coming off like absolute unconditional love, they fall into, or we all fall into being exposed to those different situations and experiences. And now is the important part. You make meaning of every single thing you experience. You make meaning of every single thing that you experience. And meaning, so the narrative that you tell yourself about whatever you experience, that brings up emotion, right? So when we attach meaning and emotion together, when we connect meaning and emotion, that is what creates a footprint or a blueprint in our system. And that can lead, if it doesn't get resolved, the story, if there's not, let's say, an open dialogue with a parent that says, where the child says, oh, but I thought, you don't love me, or I cannot speak up, I'm not allowed to share my voice, or I'm not allowed to be seen and heard, or whatever the issue is. if there's no resolve and the parent figure, the caretaker, doesn't explain an open dialogue, oh, this was never against you, then we start implementing this meaning plus emotion as a belief in our system going forward. So that means we will always try to avoid to get that wound triggered again. But ironically, we are constantly attracting people and situations that trigger that wound in order to see, oh, wait, that hurts, something is wrong here. Let me see what the wound is or what the limiting belief underneath is. Humans don't think like that yet. That's why I'm sharing this. Instead of having that thought, oh, I feel triggered. No, often like when we attract similar or similar situations or people, or at least some situations and people that are in sync with the pattern that we have stored within us, the limiting based on the limiting belief that was created in childhood, then we will keep on attracting people until we realize, oh wow, I'm attracting these people to see and understand what happened in childhood. What was the limiting pattern there? What was the pain point there? And now I'm not at the mercy of the pain anymore. I can see that I either misunderstood something or was treated in a disrespectful way, and it was never owned by the caregiver or parent around me or whoever, school teacher, other students, whatever, whoever, it was never owned or explained by somebody or said sorry. Then we keep the feeling often that we are the problem in some way. Or, and based on that, bear with me, we're getting full circle on that. And based on I am the problem in some way, I'm too much, I'm not enough, whatever it is, we go into two directions. Either we go into people pleasing, or we go into rebel. So where we try to get attention by being a rebel, by being against everything. If you have a pattern where you're always judgmental or you're always against everything, or where you're against everything and you're always feeling like a misfit or you want to be so different, that is often a sign that in childhood there was the feeling somehow that you are the problem. On the other hand, if you feel like a people pleaser, you just don't want to annoy anybody, you just put everybody in front of you, before you, but no matter what direction you go, you create a character based on your conditioning. So when you grow up being a character based on your conditioning, you're not really embodied in who you truly are without that conditioning, in that pure unconditional love and let's call it soul expression. And that's why when we start uncovering those patterns and start to heal the wounds that are underneath, we are sort of becoming someone else, although we're also staying the same. You know what I mean? Like, you're still gonna be you, but you're just gonna have stronger and more graceful boundaries. You're gonna have a stronger sense of who you really are and stand up for them. You're gonna know what your purpose is and what your qualities are and what you like and don't like, the people that you want to surround yourself and the people that are a no-no. You're just gonna be very clear and very, what is a good word that I'm searching for? You're gonna be really empowered and confident from such a internal place. It has nothing to do with this perceived confidence. Yeah, like people who are on social media are seen as confident. I'm telling you, maybe, I don't know what the good percentage would be, but maybe 10-15% are really confident and rooted in who they are. I was sitting today, I went to Pilates, and I was sitting afterwards to have some lunch, and I was just like watching people go by, and I saw so many people just being so insecure in their eyes, in the way that they moved, even if they were like well dressed or had all the brands that are all over social media and whatever. No judgment, by the way, I don't care. I'm just, trying to share something relatable. People are so insecure, and they're like or they're covering it with making sure that they look good on the outside and making sure they wear the brand, they all wear the same shoes, like the top 3 brands that are out there, because we try to create belonging through uniformity. But belonging has nothing to do with being uniform and fitting in. It has nothing to do with it. We all belong, but that doesn't mean we need to dress the same. We need to like the same things. We need to have the same opinions. We have to have the same values. It's not true. Belonging is actually the opposite of fitting in, because fitting in is you masking and you deforming yourself in order to submit to a certain value or a certain idea of what is perfect. Nothing is perfect. Nobody is perfect. And this is a concept that I'm telling you about, and I can tell you about it as long as I want, but if you don't believe it, if you don't start asking yourself, oh, okay, I understand that, but I don't believe that. Tomorrow I'm going to go out and do the same things again to belong when I'm actually trying to fit in. And this is especially true for people who feel like the world is on their shoulders. Because we feel like we need to control everything, every situation. You may often feel like, oh, it's my fault, or I wasn't good enough. Did I say the wrong thing? Did I do the wrong thing? Why don't they like me? Why don't they answer me? Why don't they text me back? Why didn't I get the job? You put everything, all the weight on your shoulders. But you only do that because something happened within you growing up that made you believe that it's your responsibility, that everything is your responsibility. And ask yourself, what is the benefit of holding on to that still? And often the benefit appears to be safety, when it's actually just familiarity and a sense of perceived control. That's why we hold on to those patterns that we have, and that's why we keep on putting weight on our shoulders, because it feels somehow safe to control, to have that control. But ask yourself, with having all that weight on your shoulders, with the overwhelm that you're constantly recreating for yourself to keep up the narrative and the pattern from childhood, that you may not even be aware of what it actually is, what the limiting belief is, what the experience is or was that hurt you and wounded you, that is often not even accessible to your mind. But that's why I'm sharing this, so that you can think about it, feel into it, and maybe even while you're watching this video, you have some memories, snippets come up. Trust them. You can write them down and just say like, all right, I was just thinking of me and my mom when I was 7 years old, and this and that happened, or whatever. Trust your intuition to bring you up the snippets that you need in order to resolve that inner conflict. Yeah, because there's an inner conflict within you that says, oh, I am who I am, but this is inappropriate in some level, either it's too much, not enough, or whatever it is. And then there's this part that says, oh, we need to hide you, because you're not appropriate. So let's people please or let's rebel, So ask yourself, sometimes in different situations, we're also both. Yeah, so you can ask yourself, in what situations do I feel like I need to rebel? In what situations do I feel like I need to people please? And when we do that, like when you feel like you cannot say no to something, or you're overworking yourself constantly, you're overwhelmed constantly with all the projects that you have, with all the ideas you want to make work, the businesses you want to build, the people you want to support, whatever your stuff is, ask yourself, like, why am I holding on to this? Why am I not allowing myself to take a break? Why do I feel like I have to carry all the world on my shoulders? When did I learn that? When did I learn that? And what did I feel then? What was the situation? Who was with me? What did they say? What happened? How did I feel? What is the narrative that was implemented in my subconscious based on what happened within me in a certain situation? Okay, I hope that makes sense for you. And when you start digging into those questions, you will slowly understand like the wound that has been created at some point in your life that made you feel like the world is on my shoulders. Okay, and this wound needs to be felt and resolved so that you can actually overcome this feeling of the world on your shoulders. Because once you feel through it and understand it, you will actually also understand that not everything is your responsibility. Maybe you interpreted this like that. Maybe this is the narrative you've been telling yourself, but it's not the truth. And your work in order to resolve that is really like feeling into yourself and remembering, like, when was the first time that I felt the world on my shoulders? Yeah. And from there, feel into that little version of you, a younger version of you. Where do you feel them in your body? Breathe into that place. Maybe it's in your throat, in your heart, in your chest, in your belly, wherever it is. Feel them and see if you can give them some compassion. And ask them, what would you have needed? What do you need right now? And then imagine to give it to them. Maybe it's a hug, maybe it's you speaking up for them. So that may sound like quite a abstract process, but it's called internal family systems or parts work or inner child work, where we actually go inside into some sort of meditation, hypnosis sort of process, or just feeling inside and connecting to those parts within you that have been either ignored or suppressed or abandoned in some sort of way. And by having that emotional release and that interaction, even though it's just in a vision and in a mental way, it's also emotional when you allow yourself to have those feelings come up that you felt back then, in order to process. And it's a sort of a process of alchemy where you process this held emotion. You can imagine that like a contracted muscle. If that muscle was contracted when you were, let's say, 8 years old or 5 or 12, and that muscle stayed like that for over 20 years, whatever, how many years, is that healthy? No. At the gym, we're also contracting and releasing, contracting and releasing. That's what life works, how life works, contracting, releasing, breathing in, breathing out, heartbeat, heart chambers open, close, yeah? So if that emotional wound was created as a child, and it's still, let's call it that, as a contraction, and it's still contracted now today after so and so many years later, what we want to do is connect to the contraction in your body. Connect to the contraction. Maybe it's in your shoulders, maybe it's in your belly, in your chest, wherever it is. Feel it. And if you cannot locate it, just breathe into your body and allow it to come up whenever it's ready. And as you breathe in and allow this contraction, just imagine you allow this contraction with your breath to give it space. Acknowledge it and accept that it's there. It will loosen if you're opening up. If you decide to open up to it and respect that it's there, no matter if it, sometimes we in those situations feel a bit of resistance to open up to it, and that's okay, or the resistance may be in that inner part of yours, and then respect that and just say, you know what, I'm just gonna sit here with you. You don't need to open up. I just want you to know I'm here. And breathe into that place, and over time it will open up and relax a little. And then you can start asking it questions like, hey, what happened back then? What would you have needed? What did you feel? And what do you need from me now? Because now, as you are an adult, you can use this opportunity to reparent that little part of yourself. And when I say reparent, I mean just listen to them, just hear them out, ask them what they need, ask them what happened to them, ask them how they interpret it, and reassure them that either it's not the truth, or explain them why something happened in a certain way, or what that little part of you misunderstood, for example, like a parent would do, like a conscious parent would do. And again, this is not against any parent or caretaker that you've had. We're all imperfect, and everybody tries what they can with the tools and capacity they have at the time. And this is just for you an opportunity to take responsibility and say, hey, I feel the world on my shoulders. I don't actually feel okay. I don't feel happy all the time, and I don't feel okay with my life, with that pain, either physically, even on your shoulders, or just the anxiety and the overwhelm of like, oh my God, life is overwhelming. It's, I'm saying that with love, but I'm saying that also because I know that I needed to hear that. It's your responsibility to go inward. And this is the only thing that's really gonna make a difference when you go inward and connect within and ask yourself and face those difficult emotions. It's at the end of the day, it's just an emotion. And it may always feel so hard. And just know that you can always ask for help. You can always work with a practitioner. You can always ask a friend to stay with you. But yeah, I would really recommend, if it feels like too scary to do by yourself, work with a practitioner. You can check the link in the comments below if you feel like maybe you want to work with me. We can have a free discovery call. You can see, hey, is this something that feels good to me? And we can see if we are a match at all. Or start with this little inquiry by yourself. I also do a monthly breathwork session that is coming up on the 7th of September. So there's a link below if you want to sign up. Breathwork is a really powerful tool that helps you release all kinds of blockages, all kinds of held emotions. So this is going to be an online group session, and somebody sent me a message the other day asking if they need to interact with the group. You don't even need to put your camera on if you don't want to. It's just an opportunity to make a difference in your life. And I'm dedicated to helping you overcome whatever inner suffering you have, and whatever feelings of unworthiness or inappropriateness or not feeling fully expressed and happy in your life you have. And I really want to help you to overcome that, as many people as possible, because I know how it feels, and I just am so freaking passionate about helping people or showing people that there's another option, that there is a way out of this. So if this resonated, leave a thumbs up for the video. If you haven't yet subscribe, and just know that the world is not on your shoulders. One more thing that just comes to mind that I still want to share is why it's so powerful to imagine yourself and your inner parts, your inner child, creating a relationship and having a conversation, is because your mind cannot differentiate between what is real and what is imagination. So that's why it's so powerful to do that inner work as much as you can. Not as much as you can, but if you want to change something in your life, building a relationship to your inner parts is very powerful. So consistency is also key. Okay? I'm going to leave you with this today. And if you have any questions, comments, write them in the comment section below. I'm happy to read them and answer them. And I see you in another video. Ciao.